My thoughts are all mixed up, and it's hard for me to put them into a coherent story, but I have really messed up bad. Like, you wouldn't believe. I've also realized that I'm going to explode if I don't tell somebody. Yeah, I could end up in some major trouble, but I know all of our principal's dirty little secrets, and it was definitely worth it. Hi, I'm Chris, but my friends call me Disaster Girl. That's because I live at risk. An adrenaline rush is like a drug to me. Every cell in my body trembles. My guts quiver. You just experience a storm of emotions, and it makes you want to feel them again and again. Have you ever had that? It all started when Derek and I were making our way to the roof of the tallest building in our city. We were up there for an hour, and Derek even tried to ride a skateboard right along the edge. Yes, Derek is my friend. We also kissed for the first time that day. We kinda kiss all the time now. Basically, we have a complicated relationship, but that's a whole other story for another time. Heights, rooftops, abandoned houses, this is my life. But none of it can compare to the adrenaline I experienced while hiding in the back seat of our principal's car. Here's how it happened. I bet that I could ride a skateboard in high heels. So I borrowed some stripper's shoes, which I don't know how to walk on. But I got on my skateboard and started gaining speed in the school parking lot. I began to lose my balance, but I caught myself on our principal's poorly marked minivan. I didn't even scratch it, but he freaked out and made such a big deal out of it. He even threatened to suspend me. My parents grounded me for a month and forced me to take down the video of my awesome ride from Instagram. So, yeah, I was very angry with Mr. X. Let's just call him that, because I promised not to tell anyone. I decided to get revenge on him. Derek suggested throwing black lace panties with embroidered initials into the glove compartment of his car. We could get lucky if his wife would find them. Yeah, that idea was so-so. That's what got me screwed in the first place. There is nothing complicated about opening a car door through its window. My cousin, who incidentally went to Harvard last year, taught me when I was 13. We practiced on his dad's car. Derek was nearby to warn me if Mr. X showed up. I opened the door and got in his minivan. I was able to put the lace surprise in his glove box when I put my hand in a half-eaten Big Mac, which was lying right in the passenger seat. This guy's car was a real pigsty. I wiped my hand right on the underwear, put them in the glove box, and noticed the principal walking towards the car. Dumbass Derek didn't warn me in time, and now I didn't have time to get out. I quickly climbed into the back seat. There was a pile of dirty laundry. I crouched on the floor and covered myself with a sweaty-smelling shirt. Ew, it was so disgusting. Mr. X got into the car, ate his burger, and we drove off. It's funny to remember now, but first, Mr. X let out a loud fart. Does every person really do that when they're alone in the car? I tried to hold my breath, but it didn't help. And then he got a phone call. He put it on speakerphone. "Mom, I'm on my way." He spoke in such a sickly sweet voice. He told his mother that he would take the laundry to the laundromat first, and then he'd come over for dinner at her house. She asked if he had been eating fast food. After all, his stomach was too tender for that stuff. And watch out, because he would definitely have gas, and that day they were having guests over, and it would be very indecent. Mama's boy assured her for about 10 minutes that he hadn't been eating anything like that. I could hardly restrain my laughter. Keep listening. This is when it started. He stopped, and I peeked out of my hideout. Maybe I'd have a chance to escape. But Mr. X was sitting in and adjusting his bald spot in the mirror. Then he grabbed a piece of gum and winked at his reflection. Then the door of the passenger seat opened, and I ducked back under the shirt. It was a woman. At first, I figured it was Mrs. X. But then her voice seemed familiar to me. I looked out to make sure. It was our math teacher. She asked what took him so long, and then they kissed, and he put a sweaty palm on her knee. And I was worried that lace underwear could ruin his family. Here's what happened next. I could hardly hear what they were cooing about, when suddenly she opened the glove compartment and pulled out the black panties. She read them aloud, A.M., the initials that I had embroidered on them the night before, as Derek had told me to do. What a pity that I couldn't see their faces at that moment! She stammered and asked what they were. Whose were they? Mr. X got choked up and couldn't answer. I'm laughing now just thinking about it. And what are they smeared with? She cried. And then she threw them in his face and ran out of the car in tears. Mr. X twisted the underwear in his hands for several minutes and sniffed loudly. Then we drove on. He stopped and got out of the car. I knew that I needed to run as soon as possible, because if he pulled up to the laundromat, I was finished. I slid the shirt off of me, and at that moment, the door next to me opened. Yes, it was the fail of the year. I just wanted to run away, but instead, I said something that I didn't even expect from myself. I wonder what my classmates will find more amusing, that our principal is a real mama's boy, or that he's having an affair with a school teacher. His face turned red with anger, but I held my gaze and even smiled mischievously. My knees were trembling. I had knots in my stomach and, yes, it was a real surge of adrenaline. He kept silently staring at me. Then I told him that we could just forget about what happened and burst out laughing as I quickly ran away. Since my parents haven't been summoned by the principal yet, I hope that he isn't going to do anything. I'm also keeping my mouth shut, even though it's very hard for me. So I decided to share this crazy story with you. How did you like it, by the way? Hi, I'm Annie. I'm 19 years old, and I'm Supergirl. I will fearlessly rescue your kitten from a burning building, get in a cage with a dangerous predator, and walk along the railing of a bridge directly over a bottomless abyss. But I am not immortal at all, and don't possess any other superpower. All my fearlessness is just a symptom of an incurable disease. I suffer from a rare genetic disease. It's called Urbach-Wiethe disease. It destroys the amygdala in the brain, which is responsible for the formation of feelings of fear and the preservation of memories of it. This means that if a Nile crocodile bit off my right hand while I was trying to pet it, the next time I would reach for it with my left hand. My brain would not communicate a sense of danger to me, and the feeling of fear isn't familiar anyway. It's the self-preservation instinct that helps us survive. So I'm always in great danger. Everything I just told you is a harsh example. My grandmother, who has been raising me since childhood, since I lost my parents, has compiled a whole list of things that I will not do, and she makes me recite it every day. Until about 7 or 8 years old, I was an ordinary child. The disease gradually took hold as it destroyed such a small yet important section of my brain. Only after I jumped out of my bedroom window on the 2nd floor just for fun and broke my leg did they give me the heavy diagnosis. In the entire world, no more than 300 cases of Urbach-Wiethe disease are known, so it's no surprise that a cure for it doesn't exist. Yet. By the way, the first item on the list of things I was forbidden to do was to not go into a burning building. It happened after I sneaked into a neighbor's house that was on fire when I was 11 years old. I could hear a cat in there. Luckily, the firefighters got me out just in time. For a long time after that, my grandmother made me repeat that I would stay away from fire. Not knowing the reason for my fearlessness, the kids at school began daring me to do various things. I always refused because I remembered my grandmother's instructions not to try anything new, since I couldn't assess the level of danger by myself. But when I was offered a dare for money, I couldn't resist. So at 14, I earned my first $50 by walking along the railing of an old bridge. It wasn't very high, and the railing wasn't too narrow, and I happened to have pretty good sense of balance. But I realized that it was very cool to the guys when they handed me the money. New dares started pouring in. It became a kind of game under the unofficial name of Scare Me If You Can. The highest bid was that I could not spend even 1 hour in an old abandoned building known in the past as an institution for the mentally ill. I told them that it would be easy, and I would even stay there the whole night. The guys kept watch at the exit, and when it got dark, they all went home. I wandered through the empty corridors and went to bed on a piece of cardboard on the floor. The police found me in the middle of the night. My grandmother put the whole city on high alert when I didn't come home after school, and one of my friends gave away my whereabouts. Public school was over for me, and I got transferred to homeschool, and I didn't get to collect my prize money for that dare. I celebrated my 16th birthday by going on a motorcycle ride with a guy I knew. It accelerated, and I was thrilled with the feeling of the insane speed. I screamed for him to go faster and faster until he lost control, and we crashed. I spent almost 3 months in the hospital, and when I got home, I asked my grandmother to add it to the list. I've been sticking to it for a year now. I only hope that we've considered all possible dangerous situations. Thank you for listening to my story.